one thing.
Every job comes.
Make sure you check for leaks around your house every day.
Every job comes.
When brushing your teeth, don't let the water run away. Come save
The water, the water,
preserve the water.
the water right now. Every job comes.
Save the water whenever you take in your shower.
Every job comes.
Make saving the water your business every hour.
The water, the water, the water, the water right now.
It's up to me and you and you and you and you.
The water right now.
Do just one thing.
I'm Acting Communications Officer in the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Energy, Utilities, and Transport, which explains why I'm with these gentlemen here today. My name is Jamie Morrison, of course. I'm joined by the Inspector of Quality, Sean Greenaway, and the Inspector of Works, Kurt Carty. Of course, this is a program where you get to interact with these gentlemen who are quite knowledgeable in their field for the next 25 minutes or so. But before we open the lines, I'll give them a brief moment to introduce themselves and discuss any salient points that they have today.
Good morning to the listening public. My name is Sean Greenaway, Inspector of Water Quality. And basically, my job entails making sure that in the end that you get safe, potable drinking water that comes to your home. And as the days go by, we do our quality checks, inspections to make sure that it's a continuous, ongoing effort. So it's not just for one day, but it's an everyday, 24 hours a day job.
Good morning to everyone out there in Radio Land. My name is Kurt Carty, Inspector of Works, and we just here today to discuss about water. Basically, as we say, every job counts, and there's a matter of scarcity right now, so we have to, try to capture every bit of it and don't let it waste. So we just want the general public to just listen keenly and pay full attention in terms of what we bring to the table today.
Definitely so. Thank you very much for the introduction. And of course, the phone lines are open, so feel free to engage us here. Something that you said, Mr. Greenaway, which actually prompted a smile. You said that this is a 24/7 job. That is the understatement of the millennium, I suppose, because you work around the clock. You get up early, 3 o'clock when my pipes are turned on. I know that there's somebody at work at the Water Services Department. Just to add a little bit of context to today's discussion, as again, Mr. Carty mentioned scarcity.
Yes.
Right. So before I joined these gentlemen on here today, I did a little bit of general research per se, and I discovered on water.gov, I think it is, that there is around the world roughly 1 in 4 people who are without potable and safe drinking water. So with that context, if we apply that to our situation here, where generally we have round-the-clock service minus the scheduling that we have, it does add a bit of context in terms of being grateful for the work that you do, for the inspections that we have going on, for the work that you do, and generally the quality. And I say that only because in my position, sometimes I'm obviously interfacing with the general public, and I see those moments when they say the Water Services Department is doing a very good job. And then there are other moments where, because of an interruption that might last 2 to 3 hours, which is not typical, they basically are ready to, let's say, usher you to the gates of hell, for want of a better term. All right, it's almost demonizing in some respects, without understanding really how hard you work to ensure that we are not in that 1 in 4, generally, who are without water. So there's a lot of work that you do. In relation to the quality, I want to touch on that, because recently we've had a lot of, let's say, I won't say a lot, but definitely more frequently, we've had interruptions in the Lime-Kilowatt area for reasons of silting. On the Water Services Facebook page, there has been a graphic tutorial, so feel free to check it out, explaining what silting is. We've also had the assistant water engineer speak to the media about why silting has occurred in that area relative to the passage of Tropical Storm Ernesto and the landslide in that area, which seemingly poses risk to the water distribution system in that area. So in respect of that, I'm going to turn it over to you to explain to the public the quality issues that arise when we have perhaps that silting in the area and how that could affect the water distribution line as well.
Okay, well, in terms of the silting, or for lack of a better word, where some persons might not understand what we mean by silting, that's where you might have like mud or extra sand that comes, and it actually gives the water this brownish color for some people, or make it look dirty. For that is more understandable. So when we have the silting, the water quality is terrible. You know, it could cause increase in terms of bacteria where we cannot see. I mean, when you do your testing, you find, for instance, like fecal coliform, it is an increase in that aspect.
A way to break that down.
Well, basically, fecal, it indicates if you have contamination from basically feces, which come from humans or animals as well, could cause that. So you have to increase your testing. You have to, for lack of, at times you have to turn off the water, because you don't want to be giving persons that water. You have to wait till it clears up. And when we do chlorination, you have to use a lot more chlorine. That's again would put off the taste of the water. So just by a little silting, it affects. And if you keep the water running, you'll be getting dirty water in your homes. The mains would be full of mud. So it's actually a lot of extra work. So it's much easier to just let the water go to waste until it clears up, and then you do your checks, and once it's up to standard, you put it back on the line.
All right, so when we're talking about going to waste, typically that another way to express that would be flushing the lines, as we're allowing it to clear itself.
Well, flushing, yes, that's that in terms of flushing the lines, because from time to time we'd have to flush the lines, because even on a regular, when you're getting clear water, you find that you have bacteria actually build up in areas like fire hydrants. If you have a dead end on the line, you'd find an increase in terms of bacteria in those areas. So from time to time, you have to flush the system, because as we turn off frequently, that water that stays in the dead end or by the fire hydrants actually run back into the line. So sometimes when you're flushing, persons might think we're wasting the water, but it's not really wasting the water. It's just a way of keeping the water clean and free of certain contaminants.
Just to add to that, with the silting, the areas that being affected mainly with the silting is from the Wingfield source, and that area feed all the way down to New Guinea, come all the way up to Limekeel into Bastia. So usually when you have heavy rainfalls, that's when we have to throw the water offline, because it's like the river come down or the gut come down, it come down muddy, and that's the same water what being captured by the area up there, the catchment. So we have to throw it off the line, because we can't give that to the customers. So that's what we call it silting. That's where everything is captured, and that's what will come into your household. So we have to throw that off the line, and then we have to wait until it cleared up, and then we put it back on. So most of the time when people see you have heavy rain, they say, you see, we have all that rain this morning or all that rain yesterday, but we can't use that water at that time, you know?
And another thing I could add to that, for some persons who might have storage tanks and cisterns at home that actually feed from that line, if we do not throw off the water, then your cistern becomes contaminated as well. So, because your cistern is actually filling up and you're not seeing what's coming in. So that actually helps you protecting that little storage you have at home as well.
All right, so I have a question now pertaining to cisterns. Have you had people calling the department asking how to go about testing the quality of the water in the cisterns?
Yes, we have persons have called and asked in terms of testing, but what we do, we would test the government mains. That's our job, test and monitor the government mains. But if you request a personal, to have something done personal on your side, you could actually contact the Bureau of Standards, and they would have one of their persons come and do the actual test for you. But it will be at a fee because they are accredited lab, so they could do that kind of stuff.
And adding to that with the systems, some people don't have it hooked up automatically if you have the system at home. So you have that water just there stagnant. And if the water don't go off for 6 months, for a year, it's just there stagnant, and then you want to use that water. But it's always important to test the water to see what the quality is. Or you could, as the quality person in charge of quality, you could get some chlorine tablets or get something to throw in that water instead of just using it like that after it is stagnant for such a long time.
All right, well, I have a question now, because obviously, great discussion on cisterns, on safety generally, and the things that the naked eye wouldn't see, much less the layman think about. So when we're talking about the chlorine tablets, how accessible are they? Would I be able to drink that water if it's been stagnant for 6 months? Is that something that you would recommend, or would we just use it for household things typically, but not to consume?
No, you could drink it. I mean, there's ways to monitor, but if you do not understand, you could actually call somebody from the department. You could call myself, and I'll come and give you my expert opinion. The chlorine tablets are accessible because it's basically the same tablets that you use in your swimming pool, but it's just that you have to put it on, use a lower dosage, because if you go in the swimming pool, you realize when you taste the water, it's actually like Clorox. That they help because of you. When you bathe, different persons in the pool bathing, the bacteria that is in the water, the chlorine helps to fight and eliminate some of that bacteria. So you could just ask for expert opinion in terms of how you go about dosage. Even on the kits, when you go and you buy a bucket of chlorine, it actually shows you how much tablets to add per gallon of water and stuff like that. So there's instructions where you could go and actually use that same tablets at home, and it will be safe for you.
It's interesting as we continue this discussion. Of course, the phone lines are open, so feel free to engage these knowledgeable gentlemen as we continue this discussion today. You've pivoted what I've sort of planned to talk about, because we're talking about health. We're talking about these things that really go unnoticed above or below the level, I would say, of my water is not running in my pipe. But there are a lot of considerations that you have to take when it comes to whether or not that water actually runs in the pipe, and I'm glad that you're talking about that today. It's a balancing act, it seems, but I think it's one that you manage quite well behind the scenes, and I think that you ought to be commended for that, so thank you for that. Mr. Carty, I see that you have quite a few bullet points on that paper. Yes, let's talk about some of those.
Well, basically, this drought season was a little bit wet for us. It wasn't that dry. So, like I'll say, I think if we had that real dry season that we was expecting, we would have some kind of, not a world war, but we would have had a war in St. Kitts for water this year, because it's really bad. And like as I'll say, our wells are not being adequately recharged the way that they're supposed to be. And at the same time, we've been over pumping them for years. So because the growth and the demand of the development in the country, and we're not adding wells like we're supposed to. So we have to be pumping these well, and it's like you're saying, you're getting 100 gallons going in now, but you're pumping out maybe 80. And you just got to keep pumping those wells like that all the time. You're not getting the amount of rainfall to just keep them refill and recharge the way that they're supposed to be.
I want you to talk about something related to that, because we've had quite a few customers talk about the fact that at higher elevations they don't have a lot of water, and sometimes we know, okay, service is interrupted for one reason or the other. That service is restored, but then the higher elevations take a little bit longer to get water to them. I don't think that's something that a lot of people tend to understand, because as you talk about the fact that we are draining the wells, so to speak, quote unquote, they're not replenishing as quickly as they can. Obviously, when you've got a system where water has to go uphill, then it has to be at a certain level before you can get it up the hill.
Well, most people are being fed from a tank, and if you're fed from that tank and you live at the highest elevation, one, if they turn the water off, your water is the first to go. And when the water coming back, your water will be the last to come back because you have to climb that hill to go all the way back up. So it's not like you turn on an electrical switch and as you turn on that switch, the water it just reach right back up. You have to take time, and everybody at the lowest elevation drawing off water at that same time had those taps open, something full enough home by them, so you have to wait till that whole line full go all the way back up. So sometimes it could take a very long time before you could reach that at that highest point.
I'm glad that you said that, because that's why the concept of conservation is also so very important. Because not only do we have a situation where we really need to conserve water for ourselves and our households and whatever else, but if you're in a community that spans lower elevations to higher elevations, obviously you should be thinking about your neighbors as well and not wasting the water. So that's important as well. I'm really glad that you talked about that. All right, we do have a caller. Good day, caller. You're alive. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Hello?
Yes, good day. Good day, sir. Go right ahead, please.
That is Jane Hospital?
I beg your pardon?
Jane Hospital.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you are actually calling ZIZ. All right, thank you, sir. Hopefully all things work well with you and it's not a water issue. All right, so, yes, bullet points, sir.
Right, so like I was saying, in those areas, the water is being fed gravity by gravity. So, like I'm saying, it coming from the tank, and then if you live, maybe some people might live on the same elevation, very close to the tank. So, the lower down you're at, you got very high pressure. The higher up you have very low pressure.
Alright, so that, again,
that's how we balance it out, yes.
So that's important for people to understand, because again, I've processed these messages, but there are things that I would not have thought about were it not for my interactions with the Water Services Department. I'm certain that there are a lot of people.
Well, basically, somebody might say that they want to live on the top of the hill, but you have to put everything in consideration when you live on the top of the hill. How would you get that water to the top of the hill? Somebody might go and live further up than where the tank is. It's almost impossible for you to get that water there. You have to get a pump to pump it from down below to get it up to the elevation where you're at.
So a lot of considerations, definitely a lot of considerations here today. All right, so as we continue this important discussion, I want to turn a little bit of my attention to your interactions with the public, because you're very popular faces. You've been with the department for a long time. Do you have people coming up to you asking you certain questions about the work that you do, that sort of thing? What do you tell them? What is the most popular question that you might be asked?
Well, and I did today, everybody gonna ask why the water turn off and let the rain come in.
Right, that's the main question.
That's one of the first
The main question is
why you
like,
knock off the water and the rain come in?
we getting so much, we had all that rain and the water still turned off.
Yeah.
But like I said, basically, when you have heavy rainfall, that's the most time when we have to turn the water off. When you have heavy rainfall, if you see like College Street gut, that got gonna be running. You see, look at the water, the quality of that water, right? That's the same water that coming from the source or the intake that we have to capture. We can't give people that in the household. So you have to throw that water offline. Then all the lines them in the area where the intake gonna be blocked because of all the silt and all the leaves, all the trees, all the stones, everything gonna come down and just block the whole intake.
And I want you to stick a pin there and tell me what it takes to clear that.
Manpower.
Sometimes when you have a lot of rain, well, I deal with that directly, me and my crew. So sometimes you have a lot of rain. One, the roads are inaccessible. So sometimes you might have to hike maybe an hour plus in certain areas just to actually get to the source.
Before you reach the source, you have to go maybe with chainsaws and all kind of thing because you have big trees fall down in the path where you can't pass. You got to do all of that.
And then by the time you hike that hour and you get there, you're tired. So you have to get a few minutes to get back your energy. And then when you reach, they might be filled with sand. Takes a while now to get all that sand out. And then even when you turn back on the water, it takes a while for the catchment to full. Same thing with the pipe. And then on the way down, you have to have a set of guys walking the pipeline, leading the pipe, so you can make sure water pass as it goes, because actually it is in the line. So if it is in the line, sometimes the water might be running, but it would never pass the air. Unless you have an air valve or something that will take that air out.
I know it's difficult to do, but I want you to give me in terms of hours and minutes. You said the guys are passing that on average.
So on average, if you have a serious silt in there, you might take your day too. Sometimes just to get the sand out. or what we'll do is just clear small areas just to get water back on the line. And then even when you have water at home, we might be there a whole week still cleaning, but we just make a way for you to get water. One of the things too that persons, well, maybe all of us take for granted, if you have some kind of storage, because you know there's a schedule, water goes every day. If you have invest in some kind of storage, sometimes water will go and it won't even bother you, it won't even affect you because you are prepared. Just like in a hurricane, we are prepared for hurricanes, so you might not have water for a period of time. So if you do that on a regular, sometimes for those who can, but all of us could, because if it means catching 2 or 3 buckets of water, then sometimes when the water goes, it won't affect you. Because even sometimes you don't see any rain in town, you drive around the island, you don't see any rain. But there's rain in the mountains, so sometimes you see a gut running.
Like Sunday, college got came down on Sunday.
So those things happen. So actually, and we still have to monitor all the time, and persons as well, they have a part to play in terms of the quality and safety of the water, because we have instances where we see people going hikes and they actually go to the cisterns and it look like a little pool, and some persons are, I don't want to say nothing bad, but it's the reality of the situation. They actually go in these cisterns, in these catchments, and they bathe and do all kind of things that, when you do that at the catchment, you contaminate the whole water system down to Bastia. So you have to take measures to prevent all that. You see persons go around on top of the tanks that we have. The tanks are covered. There's signage in certain places say you'll be prosecuted, but persons actually don't pay that no mind. They still go about doing, But so I like to say to the public, you have a part to play as well, because you think you're having fun and frolic, but then you're causing a whole heap of problem for not just yourself, because when you bathe there, you come down, you get the same water, you're going to call the department and say, oh, we're giving you dirty water, we're giving you this and that, but you are the same one who actually contaminated. So we like to also tell the public to cease and desist from some of those activities. Nobody say you cannot go and hike and admire, but you still have to be mindful of the activities or what you do could cause problems for others or the country as a whole.
Very well said. You've given me food for thought in terms of the water cycle, because looking at it outside of the traditional way that we look at it, you have contamination, somebody at the beginning of it causing that, at the end of it they're reaping the benefits of it, and then it goes right around. So it's very important. A very good point. I'm glad that you raised it.
Well, as back to the same rationing. The rationing start from home, because as you in Birdwalk, your water going off almost every night for how many years now?
Not almost, except when we have certain events. But I won't say it.
For years, that water go off every single night, and you have to fill some bottles. So when you have those bottles home, you can't just waste it. You have to ration it, because you say, well, boy, I have to save this because the water is off. And like as I say, it's just because of this scarceness of the resource, this wonderful resource that we have here. That's why we're here at this radio station today. If we have it in abundance, we would not have been here. You understand? So we just want to know, the general public to know that, as we say, every job count, and you really have to take care of this resource. It's something precious, and if you don't have it, it's like when you wake up at mornings, the first thing you do, you get up, you go to the bathroom, you want to scrub your mouth, you want to use the toilet, you want to do this stuff, and if you don't have it, what can you do?
Definitely so. And as you mentioned that, there was something that I needed to do at the beginning of the show, which is to tell the general public that there is actually a service interruption in the vicinity of Poinciana Restaurant in the Half Moon Bay area as well. Service restoration, age here. Service restoration should be around 1 p.m. today. So pay attention to that, of course. And again, you're mentioning the interruptions. It's frequent.
Yes.
But it's important, because you have work to do that you're doing. There's quality that you have to test for, and we're in a period of lack. So every drop counts. I don't think I fully understood, although I would like to think I did, the meaning of that. Every drop counts, but now I do.
Right. Every job count. And basically we cannot supply the nation right now with 24 hours supply of water. So that's where we must do. We must be rationing today. We cannot supply the nation with 24 hours of water daily. We can't do it.
Very true, but I think it's important to note as well that while we cannot do that today, the Ministry and the Water Services Department continues to work to ensure that we can get as close to that.
That's what we want
in
to do.
as quickly as
Right.
possible. So the next time when we come, obviously we'll talk about all of that and more, because there's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes, and we definitely want the public to know about it. So I'm going to give you a moment just to say goodbye to the public.
Well, like I said earlier, this is a precious resource for the water, and it's not just the water services or the government job to keep the water safe, the resource safe. It's all of us, you know. If you see somebody doing something, even simply, look at the Basta Valley. If illegal dumping, that is another problem, because you might dump something with, let's say, oil, or somebody who paint, and it seeps down to the well.
I was about to say, you're telling me about seepage.
You know,
Yes.
then that's another problem we have. You have to shut down the well, so you lose one of your resources, and then that well might be the same well serving you, and then
Very good point.
problems start again. So just be mindful of the activities we do, and you could, like we say, sometimes persons call us all kind of hours. We appreciate the calls, even though it might be late, but it keeps us on our toes. Let us know we have to do our job still. You know, if you see a pipe that bursts, or you see water
That's
running,
important, yes.
and just give us a call. We'll come and we'll do what we could do.
Thank you very much. 30 seconds.
Right. And the number to call is 465-8000. So I just want the general public to continue calling that number.
And 662-4307. I think that's the other
Right,
number.
that's the other number. Yes, so continue making those calls. When you see a leak, report it. Don't just leave it. Sometimes somebody might call and say, "Oh, that pipe running since this morning." But they didn't make that complaint earlier since this morning when they see it. The sooner you make that complaint, the sooner we try to get some guys out and get that pipe repaired. Even if it's just to stop that leak and then get it repaired after,
Right.
instead of just have it wasting like that.
Because every drop counts.
Every job counts.
Exactly.
That's the motto. That's
Every
our
drop
motto.
counts.
Yeah.
And when-
Water is life. Every
Every
job
drop counts.
counts. That's the motto.
Well, thank you very much for a very engaging discussion this morning. So many issues that we've touched on, so many more that we have to, but I'm grateful that you shed light on a lot of them. I'm Jamie Morris. Of course, we had Sean Greenaway, Inspector of Water Quality, and we had Kurt Carty, whom I like to call the Cobra, Inspector of Works. All right. We'll be with you again in 2 weeks' time. Take care, bye.
Water is life, 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 life. Water is life, 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 life.